What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with our mock draft Monday. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. So I am going to do a 0 RB team. We're going to see how it turns out. Talk strategy for that type of roster construction from the number 3 draft selection spot. This is a PPR league. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor went 1-1. Good for us. Leaves us Kupp. I would take him or Justin Jefferson with my first wide receiver spot. I have him ranked pretty neck and neck. So I take Kupp there. And yeah, basically, so what I'm going to try to do is I am not going to take a running back through the first 5 rounds according to this build. Now, I would say whenever you're doing this in a real draft, I do think getting too locked into I'm not taking any running backs or any of this stuff is like a bad strategy. I think what you should be doing is taking a look at the players on the board and thinking, you might want to take more wide receivers because you think they're safer, and they are from an injury risk perspective. There's plenty of risk with wide receivers as well, though. But you may think that's just how you like to build your teams. You're better finding running backs late, and running backs get hurt throughout the season at a much higher rate, as I already said. But also, like, younger guys project into the lineups a lot more often the running back position and these wide receivers. It's hard to find established studs at the top of the draft that can finish in the top 12 on your waiver wire for wide receivers. You can do that at the running back position. A lot of these guys were drafted late will get opportunity throughout the year, have an opportunity to thrive as well. So basically the idea is your team gets stronger as the year goes on, has one of the highest win percentages of any of these strategies. I think the key thing with these teams is you just got to get over looking at your team in the beginning of the draft and know it's going to look a little weaker because you're going to have those holes at the RB spot, but you're going to fill those as the year goes on. It gets easier to fill those. A lot of people draft a lot of rookie running backs with these type of builds, guys that are going to get better as the year goes on. I will say this, though. This is why I think you shouldn't I'm not drafting any running backs, because it is like, let's say Alvin Kamara gets to you at the end of the second round or something in your draft. A lot of people are just afraid of him getting suspended. Are you going to pass on him because he's not a running back or because he's not a wide receiver? I think things like that get foolish at a certain point. Just take the best player available. If you think this guy's in a tier alone to himself, then take him regardless of position value. But this is that draft strategy. And a lot of people in my league of record, it's going to be RB heavy. I know this, and I am planning on taking Kupp with my third selection. So based on how the draft goes in front of me in the second round, there could be a chance that I use this strategy. Honestly, there are a lot of good running backs available the way this draft is going. It hasn't been insanely running back heavy. Debo went in round 1. We don't usually see Debo go that high in most drafts. So as I said, there are some good options out here. Taking a look at who is still available, I do like Keenan Allen, especially in PPR leagues. DJ Moore. I will think I'm going to snag Higgins here. I really hope Mike Evans could get to me. I think Mike Evans is who I would probably take, but I don't know if Higgins will make it to me in the third round. Okay, I'm going to take Higgins here and hope that I can snag Mike Evans in round 3. Another big part of this draft strategy is trying to get a different swing at the tight end position. I'll probably be targeting either Kyle Pitts or George Kittle in this draft. I also like Dalton Schultz. This is a PPR league as well. Had the tight ends go off early. I think they'll go early in most drafts. I think Kelce with most drafts will go at the beginning of the second round, and then Mark Andrews will be end of the second round, beginning of the third. I think they're good draft picks there. I do think Mark Andrews, I do think he's extremely talented, but I do worry about the amount of routes he'll run this year with the way their offense is going to run a little bit. Okay, so just like I'm saying, James Conner's currently on the board. That's a good running back value at this point in drafts. But Mike Evans is still here. I think he's going to be a stud this year. It's a great touchdown upside. He does, unfortunately, have a hamstring injury currently, but he's dealt with hamstring injuries in the past, been able to play through it, been able to still be a beast. I think he'll get a big target share in that offense this season. we can talk some fantasy football storylines. George Pickens has been tearing up Steelers camp. I think he's going to be a guy to keep an eye on during your fantasy football drafts as they approach very soon. He was a guy who was very high in my wide receiver rankings pre-draft, went to the Steelers, didn't have a great depth chart, injury to Chase Claypool. He's really been able, and that you combine the injury to Chase Claypool, I think Claypool is still supposed to be ready by the regular season. Here, let me look it up right now. But regardless, it's opened up an opportunity for George Pickens to demonstrate his talent in camp. I think that's big for him. Maybe he just sat out. I know the injury was a while ago, so maybe he's just over it by now. July 29th, shoulder injury. But yeah, opened the door anyway for George Pickens to demonstrate what he can do. Extremely talented wide receiver when he was at Georgia. Just really got banged up, was hurt a lot. But now he's healthy, and he's showing why he was a second-round pick, even though he really didn't play much in college due to those injuries because of what he flashed. Even his rookie year at Georgia, freshman year at Georgia was when he had the most production, but what he was able to flash at such a young age is what gave these NFL teams the willingness to bet on him, and I think it was a good bet. Personally, like I said, just a difference maker. And I think he is an exciting option to keep your eye on in drafts, especially I think Mitch Trubisky is going to be the starting quarterback for that job. I do think I think Claypool will still play, though, and I think he's also going to have, obviously, Deontay Johnson's there. So there is target competition. But they usually do throw the ball a great deal. We'll see how much they throw the ball with Trubisky this season, though. This has definitely been an interesting draft. I think this is probably close to what you're going to see in a lot of your leagues, honestly, the way that's gone so far. I do think Kyle Pitts, honestly, I think if he goes at 52, like if I get him in the 4th round, I think that's excellent value. He had 1,000 receiving yards last year as a rookie. Didn't get done in the touchdown department, but his touchdowns really should bounce back, and he's a guy who can high point the ball, has great catching traffic skills, great hands just in general, so I'm not really that worried about that necessarily. Oh, another thing to discuss for fantasy football, this happened very recently. Zach Wilson got injured, going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. I do think that's a big injury somewhat, so he's probably going to, I think it's 50% chance, I think they said whether he plays week 1, probably going to miss week 1. I think that's a definite downgrade for a lot of this offense. They have a tough start to the schedule as well. And just Zach Wilson getting less time with the likes of the Garrett Wilson. Is that his name? It sounds wrong. Yeah, Garrett Wilson. Okay. I thought it was crazy for a second. But yeah, less time with him. I had last year with Elijah Moore, but I mean, it's not an offense I was targeting a ton for fantasy football. I do think maybe they'll run the ball even more week 1 with Joe Flacco in there as opposed to Zach Wilson, but let's take a look at the wide receiver position. Still some good wide receivers on the board. Let's take a look at this. I think this is where you get the biggest advantage of this strategy. Is like you're just making sure you're not taking running backs in this 4th and 5th round range. Not saying that all of them are bad, but like at this point in the draft, I'm really not interested in many of these running backs. But there are some of these other players that I'm interested in. Pitts went right in front of us. Gosh, that stinks. Okay, I will try to get George Kittle in round 5. I don't think I can get that done. I'll take Marquise Brown here in the 4th. I think he's going to get off to a hot start to the season. Obviously, he is on my bench. Another thing that you should take a look at, though, with these type of drafts is the quarterback position. If I was going to go quarterback, I'd probably take Herbert here. I am probably going to, like I said, I'm going to take a tight end here. Get George Kittle. It's a bit of a reach, but I'm fine getting George Kittle in the 5th round. I think he's going to be a difference maker when he's healthy. and I have an absolute stacked wide receiver room. So I add George Kittle. Like I said, most drafts you probably would take Herbert there. I just think I'm going to have some good – with the way the quarterback position, I think only Josh Allen's gone off the board so far in this draft. There's going to be some good quarterback options later. There's not going to be as good a wide receiver option as Marquise Brown. And the way – so I am through round 5 now. Made my first 5 selections. Now when you start taking running backs, I'm probably not going to take another receiver the rest of the draft. If I do, it will be late or a really high upside guy who I think maybe has top 5 potential. But with Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Mike Evans, and Marquise Brown on my bench – I feel confident that I'm going to basically just be rotating those guys in and out of my lineup week in, week out. And that is when you devote a lot of resources to your team, you have to factor that into the way you build the rest of your roster. Don't let, when you use those high-end resources, let that be an advantage to you to take shots. Now I'm just taking shots on running backs. So we will get to take a lot of high upside guys. Let's take a look at the running back position. Running backs and quarterback, I will take a quarterback at some point. Lamar Jackson still on the board. Guys like that who can be a difference maker to position. I think I could easily get one of these guys, Jalen Hurts in round 6, something like that. A guy that will be a difference maker. Let's talk about these running backs. Still really good options on the board. I mean, Damian Harris, I'm a little higher on Ramondre than Damian Harris, but Damian Harris was, a very serviceable running back last year. Yeah, I really like the first 3 wide receivers I was able to get to. Kupp, Higgins, Evans. I feel like having Evans in your flex is a mean combination. And T. Higgins on efficiency numbers and stuff is basically just Jamar Chase light. And obviously we saw Cooper Kupp did last year. And then George Kittle, as long as he's healthy, I think he's going to be a guy who can contribute in a major way. I do think his upside, the reason he's going in the 5th round is I think the Trey Lance effect. I think that he'll think they're just going to throw less with him being under center. But I think there's a chance, they use the ball more downfield, get a little more aggressive. Maybe that factors more to Brandon Ayuk than Debo or George Kittle, but still, I think there's reason for optimism around the San Francisco 49ers offense and Trey Lance in general. My pick is quickly approaching. We just saw Juju Smith-Schuster go. I think that's a good pick in the 6th round. We are getting close to my next pick. Okay, I'm going to take Kareem Hunt here. We know he catches passes, obviously. And whenever he gets the ball, he gets a good amount of touches in that Browns offense, the way they rotate those backs between him and Chubb. And he's always just, when he gets the ball in his hands, honestly, he's a difference maker. And he's a guy who has the ability to finish top 5 in fantasy football. And yeah, he is more of an RB2, but really, he's an RB2, and my RB is my flex, and Evans is my RB1 in this type of format, And I do think the big advantage to when you're doing a 0 RB build is PPR. You want to be in a PPR league, targeting, pass-catching running backs late. You can find guys that are going to be able to complement your roster and produce. I was going to say, did Melvin Gordon still on the board late? He's a guy I think is a great value when you're doing one of these type of builds, snagging him. I really do like a lot of the running backs on the board at this point in the draft, just taking shots on these guys. I kind of wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. I kind of regret not taking him over Kareem a little bit just because I think the upside is higher. I think he'll be more involved in the passing game this season. We're getting him in drafts is just a great value. I'm going to take Chase Edmonds here. I just think he's going to catch passes. You know what? I might be able to get him around later. Let me take A.J. Dillon, and I'll see if I can snag Chase Edmonds in this next round. Hopefully, knock on wood, I can. But A.J. Dillon, a guy who catches more passes than you think, and I think will have great goal line opportunity and a great offense this year in Green Bay. Late bye week as well. He's a guy you can just plug in every single week. I think he's got touchdown upside. I think he's going to touch the ball at least 10 times a game. Both of them, him and Hunt, both kind of like RB2s, but RB2s on what should profile, at least the Browns, run heavy, offense with a good offensive line. The Packers, a good offense with a good offensive line. That will run the ball a lot this year as well. Yeah, Chase Edmonds is who we are hoping gets to us. That would be best case scenario. I think he's going to catch the ball. I think he'll be the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins. They've invested more in their offensive line as well. Like I said, the other names, especially in a PPR league, I think James Cook in standard leagues, I'm really probably staying away from. Just the way that current conglomerate is looking in the Bills' backfield, looking like a real triumvirate with James Cook, Devin Singletary, and Zach Moss still being involved. That really does worry me. I did not think Zach Moss would be this involved, honestly. Thought he would basically be a non-factor. So that's something to keep your eye on. Honestly, too, when you guys look at these running backs going, it just shows the premium that is placed in the running back position, and the fact that it's running back ranking 114, 116, 117. And it's like some of these guys are going off the board with the 90th pick, 20 spots ahead of where they're ranked, according to some of these projections. So just something to keep in mind. Wouldn't mind drafting Ramondre Stevenson here either. Honestly, either of those backs I would love as my RB3 in this build. Really like, obviously he just went. But yeah, hopefully Edmonds can get to us like we've been saying. Ken Walker, another guy I would take a shot on. Like I said, rookie running backs are a good draft strategy when you do this because they're going to get healthier as the year goes on. And if you can snag them with some established veteran that you know is going to be involved early, it's really a great combination. Let's take a look at the quarterbacks available. Russ is the top. Okay, I'll get Russ or I'll get Lance. I'm fine with either of them. I was just going to say because obviously Chase Edmonds is going off the board. You take risks with ADP. Sometimes you get bit. Man, it seems a little early to be taking some of these guys. I'll take Ken Walker here. Hopefully we can get a quarterback in this next round. Honestly, some great value still currently going in this draft. I think it's just ESPN, honestly, their rankings are a little bit outdated to me. That's just what I've noticed personally. Maybe these are just, they're ranking things differently. But yeah, I feel like ever since Matthew Berry's left, things have gotten a bit worse. Let me know if you agree in the comment section down below. Hashtag bring back Barry. I will draft Russell Wilson here around 9. I think that's a good value. At this point in the draft, good weapons there, good offensive line, just a good situation for him. They've already said they're going to give him a lot of freedom to do his own thing, which I really like as far as his prospect goes. So now let's take a look at the starting lineup, basically filled out at this point except for my defensive kicker. We got Russ, Kareem Hunt, A.J. Dillon, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, George Kittle, and Mike Evans. Marquise Brown on the bench, Ken Walker on the bench as well. Other thing I was going to say strategy-wise of this build, basically one of the strategy parts is it's easier to find replacement value running back play on your waiver wire and even late in drafts, like A.J. Dillon, Kareem Hunt, both these guys drafted late. They're going to be involved in their offense. They're going to score points week in, week out. You can go find a wide receiver at the same value. They are not going to score points at the same replacement level. And there's really, when you look at wide receiver scoring here, I'll pull up this fantasy football scoring leaders for last season at the wide receiver position, just to show how the statistics plateau. Let's go to half-point PPR. Okay. So let's look at these points per game. 21 for Cooper Kupp, 18, 17, 16. We get to about 13, 12. Then all of a sudden you get to wide receiver 15. It's like 11.5 points per game if you played 17 games. And now it's just basically 11, 11, 11, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9. When you get to this range, it's just you're getting right around 10 points a game or something like that. But to be able to get these you can get multiple receivers at this top level where I'm getting a 14.1. I mean, these are just examples. An 18 maybe in Cooper Kupp, 14 for Mike Evans. And if, what's his name? Where did he finish last year? I think he averaged, T. Higgins was 13 points a game and half-point PPR. I'm probably passing him, honestly. Let's take our draft pick first. Running back still available. Dameon Pierce is on the board. I'll take him here. Melvin Gordon went, which is a bummer. My eyes aren't working. Yeah, T. Higgins, 13 points per game. You can get several players like that and then find replacement running backs that can get you 10 points a game and then every now and then, get you 20 just because they happen to be the guy that scored the touchdowns those weeks, or you hit on one of these guys late and now all of a sudden you have a star running back that you were able to add off waivers, or you sell Marquise Brown high with a package or something. All of a sudden you've got a real roster that can compete with the best of the teams. And you're really just one player away, which I think is the thing that is so enticing about these Bills and why their win rate is so high. And the running back position is one we've already talked about. Injuries. So you'll be able to find some guys later. This running back position is really starting to thin out here. Taking a look at who's still out there, Rachaad White. Man, it's getting thin. I'll take Raheem Mostert here. Gosh, I don't even want to. Let's go to all positions, see who else is available. I'll take Mostert here. Could be the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins. I didn't get Chase Edmonds earlier, so I might as well make a different investment. I like that I got Dameon Pierce as well. I think he'll get some opportunity in Houston. Like I said, you can just see the amount of running backs I've been taking shots on. I have a lot of players at that position. Obviously, if I was to do things differently, I might have prioritized Chase Edmonds a little earlier, but the fact that I was able to get Mostert, still of an investment in that backfield, a guy who could potentially receive a lot of carries. I like that. Got a few more bench spots to fill still. Oh, one thing we can talk about fantasy football-wise, Antonio Gibson, a guy I'm fading in drafts, fumbled in the preseason in his first drive. They brought Brian Robinson in. Brian Robinson, literally they think the reason they brought him in was because of Antonio Gibson's fumbling problem. Had 6 fumbles last year. Brian Robinson does not fumble the ball, and I think they will give him a lot of work, honestly, if Antonio Gibson continues to put the ball on the ground. And obviously McKissick is the third down back. All this to be said, I'm not really investing a ton in Brian Robinson. I still think Antonio Gibson's the most talented running back on that team. Where he's being drafted, I think it's worthwhile because running backs can go down. He's still talented. But the guy I think is worth a shot outside of the top 20 running backs to me. I'm just not going to invest a ton in that running game and for that off. It's just a whole lot of stuff I'm not really interested in, to be honest with you. Okay, Taking a look at who's still on the board. A lot of kickers now. A lot of old kickers. Marlon Mack's here. He could be the starting running back, honestly, for the Houston Texans. I already have, what's his name? I'll take Spiller here. Let it run it. Rookie who could gain some steam. If I didn't have Pierce, Mack might be a guy you try to snag and connect with a guy like Ken Walker or something like that. Connect two running backs. One that you'll be able to plug into your lineup at the beginning of the season, one that might take a little bit of time to get going. That's a strategy I like to use with this type of build. Jalen Tolbert just went. He could be involved in this Dallas offense with their current depth chart, the wide receiver position. Named him minor late. My computer is running hot. Okay, Jamal Williams is still on the board. I'll snag him. Reason being, I think he's got some sneaky upside if DeAndre Swift was to go down. They do have a great offensive line there. He'd be more involved. He is a 3-down back. He can catch passes as well. I think he's got some upside. I think he'll be involved from the get-go as well. Another name, he's kind of like I was going to say he's the poor man's Melvin Gordon, but I think he's even a little worse than that. I think Melvin Gordon's going to catch the passes on that offense, be involved a little bit more than people want on the goal line, and I think there'll be a good split just in regular workload as well. So Melvin Gordon really is a great guy to snag if you want to do these type of drafts. That is one of the reasons I'm fading Javonte Williams a little bit. I'm not really fading him. I just think he's worth a pick once you get to that late second round, early third. Before that, it's just too early for me personally. I'll take Khalil Herbert as my last running back here. I think he's talented. Now I think we have to take a defense and a kicker. That doesn't matter. Let's take a look at the team. So we got Russell Wilson, Kareem Hunt, A.J. Dillon, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, George Kittle, Mike Evans, Marquise Brown, Ken Walker, Damian Pierce, Raheem Mostert, Isaiah Spiller, Jamal Williams, and Khalil Herbert. Now I draft my defense and my kicker. Doesn't really matter. I like the build of this team. Maybe a few picks I would have done differently, but overall, really like the team. Want to give you guys an example of a zero wide receiver build. Stay tuned. I'm going to be dropping a video talking about the differences in roster construction between zero RB, hero RB, which strategy I like more this year, what you should do. If this video interested you, you might like that one as well. So check that stuff out. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.